This is my perception,
Sure.
but I think they just internalized it and they never dealt with it.
Yeah.
And had it been now, like the other day, just matter of fact, just yesterday, day before, we had a very critical incident happen in our agency, and our division chief was like, "If you guys need to take the rest of the day off, we'll find backfill for you." That would have never happened.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the #1 mental health and addiction podcast, the Hopeaholics. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie, and these are my boys.
I'm Chad.
I'm at Shane Earn, baby.
Hell
The Bash
yeah.
Brothers.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials and wherever you get your podcasts.
And remember, new episodes dropping every Tuesday and Friday. Check them out.
This episode is brought to you by the Infinity Group. You guys, if you or a loved one is suffering, please call us today. The number is right here on the screen. We are here for you 24/7. Now, let's get into the episode.
All right.
There we
yeah.
go. Turn it on.
We are live.
Yeah.
Welcome, Vinny, to the Hopeaholics
Yes.
podcast.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Of
See,
course.
we all have alter egos too.
Yeah.
As soon as she says that we're live, we go live.
Yeah, you're all different all of a sudden.
Yep. Our character comes out just like when you get up on stage.
Yeah, just that's how you got to be. Like, be present, be in the moment.
Yeah.
So,
If everybody doesn't know, Vinny is a comedian.
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 yeah, I'm a funny guy. I like being. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, what made you kind of go into comedy? Like, how does one start that avenue?
I think it's different for everybody, but for me, it was from a place that was very dark. I started as a law enforcement explorer when I was 14 years old, so I was riding with police officers because I always wanted to be a cop.
Okay.
And you would see things that probably kids at that age should probably see, and there wasn't a lot of mental health around law enforcement in the early 90s especially, and so I was riding with a lot of officers and seeing a lot of crazy stuff, and then I became a cop myself in 1998. And one of the things we weren't doing is educating our people about mental health and taking care of yourself. The terms you'd hear would be like, suck it up, buttercup, we compartmentalize. And so you're just doing that constantly. And like my first month of being a cop, I'm doing CPR on a guy, and I'm in training with a training officer, and he's like, get in there. And there was no pocket mask. And I'm literally, this guy's throwing up in my mouth. And you're taking on trauma like you don't even realize. It's not like one huge event, but it's vicarious over a long period of time. It's not acute.
Yeah.
So all this stuff is building up, and I was really overcommitted to doing my job. Like I was a cop 24/7. That was my whole identity, is this job. Because I think a lot of law enforcement people get into it, and some people, like me, I'm really OCD. I like to be either it's all in or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it was catching up to me after a period of time. And there's a kid that ended up dying in the canyon that I couldn't save. And it wasn't something that, was wrong on my part or anything. I just couldn't do it. And that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And the next thing you know, I'm struggling and I'm showing emotion on this scene. And I'm like, I've never lost my composure before. And I had to start acknowledging that I was struggling with my mental health. I had been engaged twice. I had lost 2 relationships, and those were really completely my responsibility. Like, I was devoting all my time to the job. And if you don't have balance in your life, you can get in a bad place.
Yeah.
And I had to start going to EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, which was like the worst counseling initially because they weren't like really law enforcement counselors. So when I was watching them and talking to them, I'd read the body language. They're like, oh my gosh. So then I would actually start messing with them because it infuriated me that they couldn't understand what I was talking about. And it wasn't until I got to meet with counselors who were actually law enforcement background where they could understand the dynamic of what I was talking about. That started helping me out, and they ended up recommending me to do EMDR therapy, which they call the fucking magic, which is the best to help you process your brain sides process. And during the midst of this, I was like, well, how am I going to balance Vinny? Like, how are we going to figure this out? So comedy, I loved it. I grew up watching George Lopez, Bernie Mac, all these people that were great. And I said, well, maybe comedy's the way out to just kind of talk about what I want to talk about. So I started writing. In 2007, I got on stage for the first time in Denver and did 2 minutes, which was the worst. I just listened to it recently there's a documentary we're working on right now. And it was the worst 2 minutes I've ever heard in my life. And here we are, like 17 years later.
Wow.
See, you can get up on stage and you can suck. Right?
Yeah.
You can even get booed off
Absolutely.
and then turn it around and become one of the best comedians ever.
Yeah, if any comedian ever says they've never had a bad set, that's absolutely like one of the first places I ever performed, like in an open mic or somewhere, was called Squire's Lounge on Colfax in Denver, and like literally Denver PD was coming in, like grabbing people and taking them out. Nobody was listening to what I had to say. They're yelling at me while I'm up there doing my 5 minutes or whatever it is, but those things, those experiences that I had then were really preparing me for being ready today. So when you have somebody that's drunk and yelling out punchlines of their own while you're in the middle of the show, you can't stop to always address that because everybody's there paying money to be entertained.
Yeah.
So you can go right over the top of them. You just get used to doing it.
Nice.
I think it's super important in the sense of just piggybacking on you being in law enforcement. I think that's like a really topic that I don't want to just like brush over, because I think it's important in the sense of, you know, our law enforcement, firefighters, first responders, anybody that is what they see on a day-to-day basis, paramedics, is a lot of trauma that your regular civilian day-to-day is not really experiencing. And so for an individual that goes through different experiences, they're gonna take that in differently, every single person. So it's like, if there is not some sort of outlet for them, what happens in kind of what you had said in your case, you start to internalize, and then it trickles into your personal life, and then it starts to have this dramatic effect, and then eventually it comes back into your work life, and then hopefully it seems like you kind of took the ball and started to think like, okay, I need to do something about this, which is good, because I feel like a lot of people don't do anything about it because either they have shame behind it, they don't want to feel, and especially I think probably more so for like men, you don't want to feel like weak, which is definitely something I think is like in a earlier generation saying, but really it's to be strong, you have to be able to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head, and I've heard you say we were trying to reduce the stigma, and there's a lot of stigma around mental health, right? But for first responders, I think it's a different kind. I don't want to say it's more. I just think it's a different kind of mental health problem. I think a lot of the men and women that are serving in paramedics, whatever EMS field it is, I think there's a lot of stigma. For me, that's the way I felt, that if I am vulnerable and tell you that I'm really struggling with my mental health, that maybe you won't think I will be a good backup officer if we're going on a call together, or maybe you think I'm not good enough anymore to be in this profession working beside you because I'm struggling this way. And I was embarrassed of that. I would have never said anything like that. And the people that I was riding with as a young man in my late teens, early teens, and then when I became a deputy myself, I can name 6 of the deputies that I've worked with over the course of my career that have taken their own lives in our department. And that is a sad state of affairs, because I think a lot of them just kept it in. And here's the weird thing. It wasn't the average deputy that was ended up taking their life. These are people that were on the SWAT team, K-9 members, bomb team. They're really devoted, but they just this is my perception, but I think they just internalized it and they never dealt with it.
Yeah.
And had it been now, like the other day, just matter of fact, just yesterday, day before, we had a very critical incident happen in our agency, and our division chief was like, if you guys need to take the rest of the day off, we'll find backfill for you. That would have never happened, just for them to process, you know, what they were exposed to. And I think that's just a mind shift today, and people are a lot more in touch with their feelings, which I think is a great thing, because they're not stowing all that baggage and then letting it build up, so it becomes a reservoir that just ends up, the dam breaks, and now you're dealing with this huge flood.
Yeah, I think it's important because it's not a normal thing to encounter, not being able to save somebody's life, and to see somebody that is not your blood or like relative, and then to feel like you're have a part of that, I think is just in general something very difficult to kind of like process through your brain and then to move past. Obviously, some individuals are going to be able to do that maybe better than others, but it is important to be able to be like yourself and be in law enforcement and be open and honest about, hey, I had some of these issues, like, you know, pop up, and now you're seeking the correct help so that you can sort those out, so you can be the best that you can not only for your.
It's a tough call.
It is. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's very
it's hard
difficult.
because I'll tell you something. If you are mentally fatigued, that's not your thing. I mean, do you want someone mentally fatigued backing you up in a dangerous situation? I mean, that's a true.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% correct.
Yep.
But if we don't talk about it,
Yeah.
we stay mentally
Yeah.
I agree with you.
fatigued.
I agree.
And you can, you got to allow people some time to heal, which that's where you got to break the stigma.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
maybe I don't back you up this week because
what I
fuck,
was-
I need to work. I
where
got
I'm
some
going.
shit
Yeah,
going on.
bro.
But I
Man.
think what it starts with too is like you're hitting the ball on the head right off the gate. So like these guys that are going right into law enforcement or first responders or paramedics or military,
Yeah.
they're getting the treatment at the very jump because then they have the tools right off the bat instead of allowing themselves to get mentally fatigued later on, and then you're searching and then you're miserable and
yeah.
then you're wanting to take your life.
That's a great solution right there.
Well, I think you're all describing like you got to learn. Like I'm sure when you started out this podcast, it was you're
Yeah.
figuring out how that works, right? I think that's the same way with what we're doing. Whatever EMS field you're in, firefighters, paramedics, cops, you have to learn to deal with whatever the issues are going to come up. And if you have permission at the beginning to say, "Listen, I'm struggling right now," and you're able to decompress and what we call do after action reviews, where everybody's sitting around and we're talking about this openly, but nobody's being judged in that. They're just saying, this is how I felt. This is what I was going through. And now everybody's like together, right? It helps them understand there's a way to process it. It's kind of like, I would say it's almost akin to like when I first became a cop. And I'm going to kind of digress here for a second. I actually was on the street as a reserve deputy for my first like 6 or 7 months. And then I was like, there was a spot open in patrol and they're like, no, you can't have it. You need to go to the jail. And I was like, why do I need to go to jail? They're like, you need some life experience, kid. I was this overzealous guy.
Yeah.
I loved it. I told you, right? I wanted to be a cop, right? But there's a great way to be a cop, and then there's a okay way to be a cop. And I first spent my first 3 years working inside the jail, and I had this small little sergeant named Ross Martinez who was a Marine. And he was in Vietnam, and they'd send him in to do these, like, he was really small, so they put him in the little holes and stuff to go look for the enemy. And that guy put his boot in my ass every single day at work. And I remember we had a fight in one of the modules, and he came in, and we were like kind of high-fiving each other because we dealt with the fight. And he pulled me in the hallway. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Get your shit together. Well, you're not here to grandstand. You're here to take care of these people." And I had to learn very early, that my job was to be respectful of people and learning to understand that respect and developing that, because I was really not good maturity-wise when I first came into it. So I think that's akin to mental health. If you're not aware of having the tools in the toolbox, or you're not sure how that's going to be taken, you have to have people along the way who take the time to invest in you. And that's where it comes to the agencies and people that are now supporting law enforcement groups to say, hey, listen, educate your people on mental health. It may be a critical incident, but it may also be just seeing, tasting, smelling, hearing, and touching things that are just abnormal to the normal civilian life. But acknowledging that and having the okay to not be okay, or to really be open about, yeah, I'm struggling right now. I'm drinking more than I used to be drinking. Because after that kid died in 2008, I was drinking more than I should have been drinking. I was able to step away from that, and I know that's not easy for some people, but I was starting to go down that hill. And when I started getting the mental health counseling and opening up, I took a risk because I thought everybody was going to be like, oh, get away. But it turned out to be just the opposite. I just think that the start, just acknowledging that, taking the time to get good about being in your right space for mental health, but it's up to people that are around those people that are going in those jobs to set that up for them so they can be successful later on down in their career.
I think so too.
I mean, yeah. For me, you basically just described how addiction starts for most people, because even just your regular citizens, we have traumas, right? And then we start to utilize these substances to as a poor coping mechanism to deal with that problem. And if we could catch kids earlier, in their mental health issues, some of them may not become full-blown addicts, stage 4 alcoholics, and addicts like myself and Natalie, who you don't want to see us on a substance, because we're tornadoes in a good way when we're sober, but when we're not, that tornado's destroying people's lives, and and it all starts with mental health. and that's what we really are here to advocate for. And I've been on the front line of the addiction community and trying to help solve those problems for the last 22 years, to watch them get worse, and to watch this fentanyl crisis come about, and and the amount of people that we see die every single year, just in our personal lives here, including my son-in-law, and the reason why all of this even exists. But like, then on top of that, I'm like, all of that was happening, and then I'm watching these cops at my son-in-law's house, and I was like, wow, this is, they see this they're telling me they see this every day, every day.
Yeah.
And some of it, you can see that there's this hardening that starts to happen, because I have it.
Yes.
And you start to become a little bit immune to the cycle, but it also can cause mental health issues if you're not talking about it.
Yep. 100%. Holding it in, this is my own description of how I've described people dealing with my own mental health. I say, when we first start out as a young person, in whatever profession we're going to be in, especially in an EMS field, you have this chalice, and if you're not every once in a while emptying it out a little bit, eventually it will get to the top and overflow. So my job, comedy, when I'm on stage releasing, people are like, man, you love being the center of attention, you're a comedian. I'm like, no, you don't actually understand. It's cathartic for me. When I'm making people laugh, it's giving back to me. It's making me feel good about me. I'm gonna just be completely blunt here. I think I've had a really low self-esteem most of my life. People are like, that's crazy to hear you say that. Like, I don't feel like I've accomplished much in my life. It's even with being where I'm at in my career, I always think, like, I got to keep doing more. I got to keep doing more. And I want to please people. And when I'm alone in my own thoughts, it was very intimidating to come on with you guys. I'll be honest with you. I told you I was a little bit nervous before I got here today. Seeing all of you guys are beautiful people. You're like very good shape, and don't get me wrong, I'll throw down with the best of them. But like, my addiction, I think for me, which I still fight with every day, is putting down the taco. And I'm not trying to make fun of that. I'm being very serious. I love to eat, and when I love that sense of full feeling. And when I'm alone is when I'm the most like destructive to myself. And I'm like, I know I shouldn't probably have this extra food, but like, it makes me feel better. And I have to constantly fight that for me. And I also have to fight my thoughts all the time, because I'm really obsessive, and like, I get fixated on something, and I call it spinning. That's the way I describe it for me. I have a hard time letting something go. And once I'm in that little revolution, every once in a while, Katrina will be like, listen, I love you, but I got to put you on hold with your neuroses right now, because I got to go do something that's like for work. And I'm constantly, the reason I bring this up is I'm constantly dealing with staying on top of my mental health. And I think a lot of that comes from those experiences that I experienced way back in the day. But I'm very open about that now. I hope I can get better. Watching some of the stuff you're doing online, I'm like, geez, I need to get my shit together. Like when you were with the Marines and that recently. But yeah, that's where I'm at. And I think it's just, it's a constant struggle for me. And I may not have had the substance abuse or the alcohol part to some extent like other people have, but I have my own demons that I'm fighting with every single day. And I feel comfortable enough in this room just to say that. I don't think I've ever told people that I've struggled with food like this and as open, but I do. And it is what it is. And I constantly have to deal with my own shortcomings. And I'm not as confident as all the time as I portray as I'm on stage. I mean, there's a lot of self-doubt, and there are a lot of times when, if I'm not on top of that, it just keeps pushing me down further and further and further, to the point that it's hard to see up.
I love that. I love the fact that you were so vulnerable. I love the fact that you were so open and honest, because to me, I relate so much to everything that you just said, because it truly is a ism that like addicts and alcoholics have the same thing, where I call it like the hamster wheel. That's where I go, with my thoughts and things. And our demons that's what is so amazing, in the sense of we're all human. And we all just have different little demons that we have to continuously battle and keep hold of and keep in check. And having someone like yourself that has not necessarily alcohol or drugs as a problem, but having something like food is another element that sometimes us addicts will go into that next? You know, you'll put down this vice and then you pick up something else. And it's being honest and open and like public about these things that are a constant struggle that you have to deal with and stay on top of every single day. And I think that's the win. That's what's important, because if we're not doing that, like you said, then it's just, you can't see up. And that's a dark place.
Yeah.
And going back to something you said earlier is the fatigue. Like, people are like, well, why are you going to just open up and talk about this? I don't want people to get fatigued mentally. I think that point you brought up is so valid, because I think when people get fatigued mentally, I think that's when we have cops, and I can only speak for this field.
Sure.
I think those cops start making poor decisions on the street because they're not ready to make the right decision because they're distracted. You know, either you're focused on what you're doing or you're not. And I'm going to tell you right now, being a cop is today in 2024, I take my hat off to the younger generation coming in right now, because they have to be super focused. It's a crazy world. The fentanyl crisis impacts them as well. Like we have to carry, dual Narcan on ourselves now. I mean, it doesn't take but one granule, depending on what it is, in order to put an officer down. And there's a video online, if you haven't seen it, of the officer here in California, the sheriff's deputy, just boom, straight down. So it's impacting all of us. And I just think that people, the wherewithal for them to be in control of that mental fatigue, because it's just like when you can't push anymore. Like yesterday, we got to a point where I was like, I'm done. But you got to be able to work through it. And if you're struggling mentally and you can't get that focus in, you're going to set yourself up for trouble. And I really thought you had a really good point there.
Well, you know what? Just staying on top of it, of having the tools from, and what I think is awesome. So Tom Brady, right? You look at him and you're like, damn, that guy is just like top of the world in the sense of his professional life, kids, family, like the whole thing, right? He came out publicly saying he's been in counseling for 25 years. But that's me looking at somebody like himself, and it, from what I know of, and I could be wrong, I don't think he has like a substance or anything whatsoever, or an addiction problem. However, he knew at an early age that I'm all about mind, body, and soul. Like everything has to be aligned, and for you to be feeling and performing and doing your best to your capability. And I feel like that is a perfect example of an individual that knew that out the gate and started addressing it before he got mentally fatigued, or he knew the tools to turn to when he started feeling those types of feelings of that, like, ooh, I'm kind of struggling right now, and then knew kind of what to do, whether that's meditating or doing something that was the tools were given to him at an early age, and he hasn't stopped. The 25 years is a really long time for an individual. That's like somebody working a program,
Yeah.
It's like staying on top of all of the elements that keep you on that like straight and narrow, per se.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty well almost impossible. I mean, just look at this. You got a kid. I mean, what parent has the time to give that attention to? Say you have 3 kids. What parents have the time to give attention to that kid who's really struggling and teach them to go through breathing exercises or?
Well, I mean,
Well,
it's
how
your
about
responsibility-
even the
hold
no?
on. But it's like it's a responsibility to be there for your child until they're like 18, right?
Yeah.
But then as soon as you turn to 18, it's on you, buddy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm tired of like these kids like wanting to say like, oh, mom and dad didn't do this to me. Where it's like, you know what? Grow the fuck up. It's time to buckle the fuck up, because that's like where it's at. And like you were saying, my parents, I'm a one of 4. They didn't know about meditating. They didn't know about any of those types of things. But we have all of our kids. Do they have a phone? Yes. Are they are they listening to podcasts? Are they watching YouTube? Are they listening to like other podcasts out there about health and wellness? What are you feeding your mind? So it's like, I feel like it's an easy kind of excuse for people not to do the work.
Yeah. I was still stuck on what he just told us, because like I don't know if he knows it, but like all 3 of us struggle with food.
Yeah.
We
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that's what kept me up last night. Let's just lay the cards on the table. I was like, these people are beautiful. I'm walking in here, and there's not much that shakes me, but like we're talking about something today that's really important to me, and I talk about it every show, even if I only take 5 minutes to talk about mental health. But like And I do, but my mom is like the hard part because I love her so much, but she cooks so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
And she'll let me help us. We can bring you down something right now. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, bring it down. And I'm like, and I can't just eat part of it, right?
Yeah.
I have never said, can I get a to-go bag for those words don't come out of my mouth, or I can't finish this. I've never uttered that in my life,
Yeah.
I it's so funny you were saying that because like I really struggle with ice cream. Like
Wow.
like bad. Like like to where I hunted it down. Well, I told you guys yesterday,
not
right?
last night,
It was the night before. Like I hunted it down. I knew my wife bought ice cream. There's no way she didn't have ice cream in the house, but I had told her to hide the fucking ice cream because I have a problem with ice cream at 10 p.m. at night. I lose all self-control. Like all self-control. And and I found that.
Like you can do more than a pint kind of self-control?
I could do the whole fucking gallon. And then I don't feel that good the next day.
Yeah.
But we all struggle with like mental health stuff just exactly the same as what you described right there. And it is exactly what I'm talking about when I get up on this microphone and I say it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say that stuff. It's actually empowering to, tell people what's going on with you and being vulnerable. You're not weak. You're actually stronger than people who just say everything's okay, because guess what we get to do when we talk about our mental health struggles and be vulnerable we get to break those roadblocks and open up roads that other people don't get to go on this journey of life. And not one of us. See, I look at both of you and I'm like, fuck, Natalie's fucking been in some pretty interesting clothing with a microphone in her hand talking live to 110,000 people, and then however many people are also watching that crap on TV. It's not crap. I think the WWE is awesome and it's real, and it's not crap.
This does not represent Chad Inc. in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
But you guys, and then you get up. I would love to be able to. I don't have the balls to get up in front of a crowd and do a comedy routine.
Oh man!
But it would be badass, wouldn't it, you guys?
Yeah.
It's
It
the
would
best.
be really
Like
amazing.
Shane's actually a pretty funny motherfucker.
Yeah.
If you could,
Shane
if he
could
could
do it, Shane.
hone his,
He would have to learn how to write bits.
yeah.
Or I guess you could do it.
You can riff.
improv.
I mean, you can. It's called riffing. I mean, there are people that do crowd work and riff. I mean, that's the big. Matt Rife, I think, is like one of the
yeah,
biggest
he does
crowd
crowd
work
work.
He's
riffing.
good.
I think my wife likes him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got that jaw thing. He does that jawser
Oh, he does?
Yeah, that's why if you see older pictures of him and now his jaw.
Shut up. Are you
his
serious?
Jaw is really ripped.
Stop it right now.
Jawser.
Is he like sponsored by that
I
thing?
believe
What-
so,
what is it?
yeah.
Okay, so it's basically like you can get it on Amazon if they're listening. sponsor us.
Amazon,
Thank
we're
you.
looking for a sponsor. I mean, not Amazon.
No, it's Jaws or
Size.
Yeah.
We're
And
looking for a
basically,
sponsorship.
there's different strengths, and you put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
Right? And it basically, so you're working out your jaw. So what it's supposed to do is define your jaw muscles and make that like,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to use that for the rest of my life. I go from a 5-step program here to a 1-step right here. Oh my gosh, man!
Yeah. So
I didn't even know that was a thing. Is that really? That's for really a thing?
Yeah.
I
Wow.
didn't know that he was. That's really interesting in the sense of like now you make me want to look back at pictures. to
Yeah,
see
I'll
if,
take
like,
it. Yeah,
really-
yeah. You should really have a look. I looked. I was
You
a
did?
week ago. Yeah.
Yeah?
Crazy.
And you can tell, huh?
Oh, easily.
Wow.
Wow.
Easily.
So it worked for
I
him.
might have to buy.
So my point is,
All of us are gonna be all on Amazon at the.
Yeah, where's Vinny? He's just doing Jaws size.
he's jaws or size.
He's done. He's been really good at it though.
Right.
It's the only part. Nothing else matches in the body. It's just a
Right.
His
perfect, a
fucking
perfect jaw.
ripped jaw.
Right.
It's a ripped jaw.
Do you do crowd work when you go out on stage?
I do,
little
especially
bit?
if people open their mouth and
Yeah.
say something they
Or,
shouldn't
like
say.
Heckling or something.
Yeah, if they start heckling, man, I mean, like you got to be good to go over it because sometimes, like, what you don't want to do is turn a crowd against you. And I've
Yeah.
seen comedians take it personal. Like somebody will say something that's dumb, or like
You suck.
you suck, or they don't like what they're talking about and they take offense to it,
Sure.
and now it's a whole fight between them. So if you have a if you can snap them back in just a
Yeah.
little bit, but you can't go too far where the rest of the audience is like, oh no, we're no longer on your side. We think that this
Yeah.
person's the right, saying the right thing. That could get a little scary. And I've seen comedians lose their shit on stage on a crowd member, and now everybody's like, yeah, we're done. We're not going to really listen to you anymore. And some people just get up and leave. We call it walking people. So one of the weirdest things I ever thought, like I always grew up with, and this is completely separate, but Bob Saget.
Oh, yeah.
When I grew up, I was watching Full House, and I always thought he was, great. And then people come watch his comedy shows, and it is not the Full House kind of like home kind of thing.
Sure.
It was very, very blue, and the comedy we call it blue, where you're dirty. And people would be like, "Oh man, I'm out," right? And walking
They didn't
people,
know.
they didn't know.
about Bob
No,
Saget.
He was a naughty, naughty boy.
They didn't know.
That's
Naughty boy.
hilarious. Is that
Kind of like
funny?
that guy from The Price is Right.
Oh,
He just passed away. He was like 100 years old.
Oh, Bob Barker.
Bob Barker.
Bob-
Oh, he was a dirty.
I just think that he had
Really?
some roles where he was always, he was always with the younger girls.
Oh man,
Yeah.
my favorite
Bob
part.
Barker. I love
Really?
Bob Barker.
Bob Barker was a dirty old man. He
Yeah.
was a dirty young man too.
Yeah.
Price is Right was around forever. I used to watch
Ever.
that. That's what I used to watch when
It's
I was
still
when I-
around.
when
What
I
was that movie?
Fake
Price is Wrong, bitch. Happy Gilmore. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
Oh,
Yeah, where he got in the fight with
with that
Bob
was
Barker?
funny.
Yeah.
that
Oh
was
my
good.
God.
Price is Wrong,
Wow.
bitch. I don't know why that sticks into my head.
Who was that? Because that part I remember. Who played that?
played?
Yeah.
It was Adam Sandler
Yeah.
and Bob Barker.
Okay,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
got in a fight.
Yeah, they got in a fight. They were
Okay,
like a
yeah.
pro golf am in that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
And
right.
he's like, "You suck." Like Bob
Yeah.
Barker's getting pissed at him because he can't hit the ball for shit. And the next thing you know, he's like, they're duking it out on the side of the.
and then that's when he does the like cast line.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh.
So, Vinny, here's the thing. I mean, the three of us have issues. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to speak for myself. I have a lot of issues. And the thing is this, that I battle those issues with,
Yeah.
food, good food, juicing, exercise, walking, breathing techniques. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to cry at night because I feel overweight. I don't want to cry at night because I feel sad about what happened during the day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Where are you with that?
I'll tell you what, I do work out, and I think if I didn't work out
Yeah.
and be as active as I am, like I am constantly on the go.
Good
Nobody around me will ever say that guy is sitting still. Like I'm always going.
Yeah.
I think it just comes down to the choices and being able to have the self-control, honestly, and say, I mean, it's so crazy. I could tell you the stuff that I know because growing up in Boulder, Colorado, like it's a very fit community. I mean, like it seriously is. Like I could tell you, I could be eating vegetables and a protein and making sure that I'm lowering the carbs in order to make sure that my glycemic index doesn't spike in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, I know the
yeah.
dynamics of what you can account. But when there's Mexican tamale pie and my mom's like, "Boss, we just made it." I'm like, yeah, it's hard for me to push back from that. I also, when I'm alone and I start getting in my own head, I think it probably the piece that I'm trying to work on the most is making sure I'm getting adequate sleep. I don't know what it is for me, but like once my mind is going, it's hard for me to shut down the afterburners, if that makes any sense. Just
Yeah.
like I wish my mind sometimes would just turn off. I don't know if this is for you,
I
this
totally
is
get
experience,
that.
but I'll lay down and I'll sleep for 6, 7, 8 hours.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I wake up, like my mind never shut off.
Right.
It was constantly running throughout the entire night, and I was thinking.
Does your watch tell you if you get good sleeps?
It tells me like my resting heart rate and stuff. We have the sleep number bed, so it
you
tells
do?
me if I'm So it tells me if I'm sound sleeping or if I'm disturbed and how many disturbances that I have.
Okay,
through
because
that.
I had the same thing and I bought this whoop. And the whoop tells me my REMs, how I'm sleeping, my
Mine
heartbeat at
does
night.
too, but I took it off. I started taking it off because it kept telling me I was like so disruptive sleeping and my battery was so low.
Yeah.
And then you start believing it,
Yeah, exactly.
and then you're like
Plays in
feeling
my head.
tired. Yeah,
Yes.
it fucks with your head.
Yeah, so
It
I
does,
started.
Yeah.
it does fuck with your head.
Right?
Yeah,
It does.
I'm
'cause
not doing that.
Yeah,
I sleep
I-
like shit every night. I probably
Really?
have sleep apnea. but I get a good sleep every once in a while.
I do have sleep apnea. Let's just
Guys.
we're laying all this.
Lay it out on
what
the
else,
fucking
what
table.
else you got, man? What else you got? And
I mean, my wife fucking count. She's like, I counted 48 seconds you weren't
Wow.
breathing. 48 seconds you didn't take a breath.
What?
And I was like, you know what?
How are
I'm
you not
sleeping in the
dead?
other room because you're not gonna fucking do that. Count. Then she fucking pokes me
Yeah.
and then wakes me up.
You know what we did? Because I used to do that to Jonathan too. We ended up getting one of those beds where it kind of tilts you up a little bit for snoring.
yeah,
For like it says for sleep apnea, and you guys, it truly does work.
Yeah, I sleep up.
Yeah.
I have
Like
I have
it's just like a
cushion.
little. You can't really tell,
Yeah,
but it does help.
Do you sleep on your back?
Significant.
I sleep on my back.
it's just enough to
my
get your
side.
tongue from like going
Exactly,
back out of your throat.
basically.
Yeah.
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 But here's the weird thing. I snore when I'm on my side. I snore when I'm on my stomach.
Wow.
Like,
I used to wake up in the morning with this before I had a sleep apnea machine. I used to wake up every morning with this giant red dot in the middle of my forehead, and I'm not being
Yeah.
racial here in any way, shape, or form. Let's be clear, but it was because I would sleep on my stomach and I'd prop I use my arm and put literally my palm of my hand in the middle of my forehead to create distance between the bed and my chest. So when I wake up in the morning, I had my hand there
Shut
the whole
up.
time. Not even kidding. And I was wondering, I was like, how do I have this? I wake up and I look in the mirror and there'd just be this red indentation. And I'd be like, God, what is going on? And it was like my body like saying like, listen, you got an issue here. And I'll tell you what, like my friend, one of the guys that I travel with a lot, he's a good friend of mine. I would be the one snoring. Now I'm completely quiet. You can't even tell I'm in the room. But man, that guy, he's starting to get to the point now where he's like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I'm like, what is going on over there? Is something getting killed? Or so like I have to hurry up now. Like when I travel with him, I have to hurry up and get my ass to sleep because if I don't, then I'm going to be waiting for like a half an hour.
Dude, that's hilarious you said that because I used to live with my oldest brother, right? And shout out to Neil because he actually is the one that got me sober. But
What, Neil?
when we would go to bed, he would always tell me, "You better hurry," because it's the same thing. I would be in the other room and he would be snoring so damn loud that then I'm like,
Who's Neil?
my oldest brother.
Oh,
Yeah. You've never heard his name?
no.
you always
You're learning new things.
just say your oldest brother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Well, today I took his
Neil.
anonymity.
Okay, Neil.
Yeah, he's a savage.
Savage.
Yeah. So shout out to him.
So, Vinny, what do you want to change, man? Like, what do you want to change? You're here. You let go. You open up with the food. You want. I feel like you want to make. I feel like he wants to make a breakthrough.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like already one.
Like he
breakthrough.
did. Yeah. So
Big
it
one.
seems like, and we want to be a support system here for you. How can we help you do whatever that is?
Well, I mean, I think there's two goals. One for myself of just continuing to figure out whatever that piece is. Maybe I'm not there yet where I can fully acknowledge something that's
Deep in there.
deep in there that
Yeah.
is driving this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think part of it, like I've never talked about my dad on stage, which is like that's for me, it's been taboo. Most recently, I just started doing that. I mean, people love when I talk about my mom on stage. They just absolutely love it. But I lost my dad right when I became a cop. I lost him to cancer, and I think that was a piece of me that just kind of fell apart.
Sorry.
My dad was a great person. He would make you all feel like coming out, giving you a hug like y'all did me, embraced me when I walked in the door today. That was amazing. I'm not used to that in just general contact with people. I absolutely love that. That was my dad. He always made people feel like they were the center of the room.
Yeah.
And people that can make you feel that way, you always, that was the old adage. It's not how you, what you say to people, it's how you make them feel. And he made everybody feel really, really warm. I think if I can deal with some of those pieces and figuring out, as I've gone through my career, like in comedy and also just at work, sharing those moments with people that you really love, and being able to share that accolade that comes and just that experience, I really miss that. And I wish that he was around to see those things. And so I was really, really angry. Another piece of me is, my dad was a big gambler. He loved to gamble. And I think there's a part of me that has that demon too, especially if alcohol's involved. And so I think that that's hard for that's hard for me a lot of times. And I want to make, an effort there. But I think just dealing with that piece of my dad that I've never really, I think, opened up and truly acknowledged. And I think that's a big piece for me. And the other piece, so that's a personal one for me. But the other one is I'm tired of losing people over the course of my life that I've known and I have a lot of respect for, that really put in a lot of time and service, end up taking their own lives. And I just want people to not be ashamed. I'm part of a group that I perform for every quarter in Dublin, Ohio, called The Bridge. And it's specifically designed for first responders of all kinds, dispatchers, corrections, police, fire. And they come there with their significant other if they're struggling as a result of doing that job. Because it not only impacts the person, it's their significant other who's living side by side with them. And this whole conference over 2 days is dedicated to helping them understand all the things that we've been talking about here and give them the tools. And there's one guy that's there. He's a firefighter that got really strung out on methamphetamine, and it really changed his life. And now he speaks at this conference. And so I just want, on a personal note, I just want people that are out there who are in the EMS industry, whether you're a cop like me or you're doing whatever it is out there, just don't be ashamed. I'm standing here right now today. I would never have been able to do this 10 years ago and say what I struggle with. I would have never admitted that I was dealing with mental health issues because I thought people would judge me. And honestly, now I don't give a shit. I don't care what people know about me in that area, because if it can help others, I know it can get them hopefully not to go down the same route that I went. And it was scary because you just didn't know how it was going to turn out. And I'm just not ashamed of it anymore. I stand on every stage and I tell every single person at every single show, I make sure I take that time. There's people, if you're struggling with your mental health, there's people to your left and there's people to your right who are willing to help and at least listen. And if you're struggling with your mental health, don't be ashamed of it. Step up, talk about it. And when I use the word mental health, it might not just be mental health. It may be substance abuse. It may be, and that's pretty prolific in the industry that I'm in. Just people just don't know it. People are good at disguising it.
Yes.
You know, I certainly was. I was very good at disguising it. I'm good at putting up a facade all the time, and I'm happy and I'm deflecting, and really inside I'm just like, God, the world's crushing it on me right now.
Yeah.
See, and that's nice that he had that change at this age, which is really beautiful because you're confident now. You have a kind of confidence. But how do you get that to a 10-year-old or to a 12-year-old saying that, hey, I'm struggling with mental health today, when he's afraid his friends are going to call him crazy or point fingers? You know how it is.
You have to. I feel like that's really hard to unpack in the sense of what is going on with that 10-year-old. Is that 10-year-old in sports? What is that 10-year-old eating? What are they? Right. How much are they on their phone?
There we go.
Is their parent monitoring them? Are they on their phone?
Are they even home? Two parents working all the time. It's new world out there.
Are they playing sports? Are they not? When you're a little kid,
right?
Like the phone it's a beautiful tool. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing. But if you're a child, I know for me, thank God I didn't grow up in a social media era, because I would for sure, I was already batshit crazy then. So I can only imagine how many times that would have just been elevated times 1,000.
Or downed.
Or down.
Yeah.
Whichever
I mean, the bullying is really real for these kids.
Kids, man.
Social, like online bullying.
Sure.
Yeah, it's huge.
My daughter gets bullied all the time. Things have changed a lot, but like she used to clap back a lot, and then she'd get banned from TikTok for saying stuff she shouldn't say. But it really affects them, and I think just constantly being able to talk to them about it, and and if you are the parent, reassuring them that some of this stuff isn't gonna matter.
So true.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell though. It's hard to tell a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old that in 4 years when you're out of high school, your whole life's gonna change, and everything that these people are saying doesn't matter.
It's so true.
I think when you're young like that, I mean, I guess I just see it from the things that we deal with. You roll on calls and you have 15, 16-year-old, they can only see that week or that day.
Yes.
Right? they just don't have the maturity yet to see
Yes.
that life is a lot bigger than
Far
that.
beyond that.
But they're willing to take a lot more risks, I think, than I was today, because it's just a different, like, their social media status is so important to them. It's the box around them. And like, one of the things that I think is really, really weird is I remember having to go up and, you know, like, I didn't break up with many girlfriends, but I had a bunch break up with me. But that weird conversation that happens where she's like, yeah, it's really not working out.
Yeah.
It's not me, it's you, or it's me, it's whatever how
yeah.
it goes.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now, like, the kids just ghost each other,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
block them and ghost them, and I'm like, that can't be good for the psyche, because
No.
like, you got to be able to learn to have that discussion. That you,
For sure.
yeah,
Like,
it pisses me off. I'm like,
No.
what do you mean you just ghosted her?
No, it's 100%. We're taking away the element of conversation and having to do an awkward, like, having an awkward situation and conversation with someone from the opposite sex, right? Or even from the same sex, if you're friends, whatever. Because one, it teaches men that, like, okay, I got rejected, but it's like,
There's other fish in the sea.
yes. And then for the woman, it's like, okay, I need to actually be have this conversation that I don't really want to, and, like, potentially, in a sense, hurt his feelings and do it in the nice way. Where I think there's so many things that have become messy, where kids are taking way more risks. Why? Because of, like, social media, their status, but also I feel like the consequences and the lack of respect towards, like, law enforcement and to what could possibly happen to them is also decreased. Where, like, I was scared of the cops. I was scared of my parents. Like, I feel like there's not a fear
I was
of
running
parents.
from the cops.
So it's like, I think that also trickles into the youth. So it's just, you know, I'm like worried for them.
Yeah, I just think it's just different. And I think
Yeah.
the hard conversation or the difficult conversation, being uncomfortable, the one thing I've learned in my life is being uncomfortable is very important,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
it helps you grow. When
Yeah.
you first take the mic, you go to the stage, I was very uncomfortable. I was like, man,
Yeah.
I'm terrible. I'm not doing great. But just getting used to that comfortableness, it's no different than when you lift weights, right? You know,
Totally.
you start at one. If you stay at the same thing, doing the same routine all the time, your body absorbs the ability to do that, and you can just do that, right? But in order to get stronger, sometimes you have to shock the body a little bit in order to kick it into a higher gear. I know all the stuff I need to. I just need to put down the burritos. Really, what I need to do.
You do.
You know what?
You
Here's
really
I'm gonna
do.
tell you. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm gonna tell you something. Underneath this layer of fat that I have
Yeah.
is a perfect body.
Oh yeah.
I'm not kidding you. Stop looking at me like that, because you know I get it. I would look just like Jonathan if I could get rid of this extra layer that I have.
But see,
I
that's mental illness, right? Because you're looking at him and you're probably thinking, like, what are you talking about?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He looks great.
See?
Thanks. So do you.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
Like,
I mean, like, I'm telling you right now, I'm not kidding. If I didn't work out and I wasn't as active as I am, I'd be 480, 475. I don't know. But I have to, it's a constant battle for me. I know everything that I should be doing, you know, small meals. Don't eat late at night. I love to eat late at night. It's one of my
Fucking, that's how
favorite.
I go to sleep.
No, but that's a demon, and that's something that is, like, important, that is that we have to battle with, because, like you said, there's something in there. There's a deeper issue in there that is making you go that route. You know what I mean? And, like, obviously the first step is you acknowledging it, and that's huge. And then talking about it, another one. And then today's the first time that you really have been, like, vulnerable and being open and honest about it, instead of deflecting, which I can tell that you're a funny guy. So it's easy to deflect on that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been open about my eating issues as much as I have been here. Like I'm known back in the day for being this Taco Bell guy. There's a documentary coming out of me at the end of the year called Vinnies Journey, the story of the cop comedian. And it was so weird when we were doing this. I think it was 17 interviews. Taco Bell came up like almost in every single interview. And I'm like, man. And one guy was like, yeah, man, he get like a catering bag, you know? And I'd be like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, this is going crazy. Yeah, I appreciate that. It feels good to be honest about things that way, you know, because when you get it out, it always feels good. I would tell that to people when I had them have them in the box, and I'd be when I was a detective and I'd be interviewing them. I'd be like, you know, man, you just want to sleep good tonight, right? You know, you want to sleep good, so you want to say what the truth is, right? And I'm trying to get to confession, but
Of course.
but there is truth to that piece.
Yeah.
You know, owning it and man, I'll
Never-
tell you right, the guy sitting right before you right now, I am far from perfection, and I'm more proud of that today, being able to acknowledge that, than I have ever been in my entire life, and I'm just very blessed to have all the blessings I have in my life today.
Yeah. I like.
How are you with God?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, I had a
like, have you had a prayer? Please remove this obsession.
yeah, I pray the same thing every night.
Change it up.
Well, I have I pray about this. I asked, help me get this under control. Help me to be better. I pray, dear God, take care of my mom, dad, Benji, Spotty, Cha-Cha, Yo-Yo, Bernda, Aaron, Tessa, Katrina, and me.
Ooh.
I pray that every single night.
Wow.
And I've never said this anywhere. But that's my immediate family. And then all the women that I've been with in my entire life, including the most current, that I've been with for close to 18 years now.
Wow.
May 5th will be 18 years.
Nice.
And she's a powerhouse. She's the chief DA in the county where I work.
Wow.
And she is a no joke. But I needed somebody. She's complete opposite personality. Like, this is not her jam. This is not.
Oh
like,
yeah.
she can do the stuff in the courtroom, and she puts that face on when she needs to. But her idea of chilling is reading, having a quiet space. And then,
Yeah.
of course, there's me, who's constantly disrupting that element.
That quiet space.
But going back to what you said, yeah, I mean, I grew up going to Catholic, to catechism on my dad's side, and then born again Christian with my mom. So I would go to Sunday school in 2 different ways on Sundays. I was at the point, like at one point, where I could, tell you most of the books of the Bible in one breath. But that sounds cool and all, but I have always had a relationship with God, and I will never step away from that. That's been fundamental in my core of who I am.
Yeah.
But also with the upbringing I was given.
Well, looks like his mom's the fucking problem. She's too good of a cook.
She's too good.
She's too good of a fucking cook.
If
But-
she
She's a good mom.
I mean,
She's
I,
a-
when
yeah,
I go home,
man.
I gain,
Yeah,
I
she's a
gain
good
weight.
mom.
That's why, like,
Really?
God, she doesn't,
Yeah,
like,
and that's
those
her
things.
job, though. That's her love. Her passion is to make sure he's
I
satisfied
mean, I
in
also
every
think
fucking
it's, like,
way.
in our
wow,
culture.
Shane, I'm telling you right now, that is no joke. You guys are bringing out a lot of emotion in me right now, thinking about just dad and all this sort of stuff. My parents didn't have anything growing up, so I think they wanted to be like, let's give them everything.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad would have to go to he tells stories about having to go to the movie theater, and they throw the kernels out, the ones that didn't pop in the popcorn machine, and he'd go get those out of the trash, and he'd go home and he'd pop those. And he had a bike with no tires, and my dad was one of the biggest hustlers and one of the biggest person you'd ever see in your life. And that lives through me. But like, man, I think when we were growing up, I remember they wanted to make sure we had everything that they couldn't have. And so food was probably one of the biggest things, because you could buy that. That was a goal that we could get. So we never went without. But I think my parents didn't have the education that I have now. Like, we drink a lot of soda, a regular soda, a lot of like sugar, right?
Yeah.
And Kool-Aid and Tang.
Yeah.
and
I love that.
Dang, oh my gosh.
Is Tang still?
I don't
Can
know.
he,
I
don't
get-
even know if
can
you
he
can
get?
get it.
I think it's been banned in all
Probably
52
poison.
states.
Are you serious?
I think so.
Really?
I'm joking, but
Oh.
There's
I
only
haven't seen
There's
it
only
around.
There's only
50 states,
well,
by the way.
Fair enough.
50
All right, I'm
states,
Canadian. I
Canada,
failed the first time.
Canada guy.
Did you just say 52?
I said
Yeah, he said
52.
52.
Whoa.
He said it's banned. in all
Although
52
I was watching a
states.
video not long ago where they were asking kids on the street, like, what 2 countries connect to the United States? And like, nobody can answer this question. And I'm like, what is going on?
Wow.
They couldn't answer that.
They
one?
couldn't answer that. Yeah. I don't know if it was staged or what, but they were going to random people like in Times Square.
Yeah.
And they're like, what two countries connect to the United States? And they're like, Georgia? I mean, like, literally, I'm like,
No.
yeah, it was bad. I was like, cannot be where we're at today.
A lot of dumb out there.
Canada.
Lot
Canada's
of dumb. Lot,
Con- There's a lot of dumb in Canada.
Lot
They
of
got
dumb
good
old
poutine.
people.
They got good poutine up
Really
there.
good poutine, but you don't need that. Quit
Of course you
talking.
don't. That's
Quit
gravy.
talking about gravy and cheese, okay? Come on, man.
What's I thought he
Yeah,
was
me
talking
too.
about PUSSY.
Oh no,
Oh,
not that.
Poutang.
no. That's,
I thought he was saying. I thought he was saying
This-
Oh my
Poutang.
God.
no. I'm talking French fries, gravy, and cheese.
I thought
Yeah,
you said
you know
Shane was
what?
the one that was the problem.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Shane's got lots of problems.
Dude, I haven't heard that word in actually a very long
Which
time.
one? Poutang?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
That's
was
it.
like
There's a
that
song.
was
Isn't there a song out right
Yes.
now? It's like she my little poo tang, or no? It says
No,
it.
been a
Boo
minute.
Thang.
It's
Huh?
It's
Boo
Boo
thing.
Thang.
Boo thing.
Boo thing.
She's my little poo tang. That's dirty.
No, it's
Wow.
Boo Thang.
I thought she was saying she's
Yeah.
my little poo tang.
Oh, God.
That's what I was. That's what I've been singing. Damn, no wonder why everybody look weird at me at the gym.
God.
Got my headphones on.
Yeah,
She
walk-
my little
And you're
poo
singing
tang.
out loud?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Huh?
Yeah, that's really.
Look,
unbelievable.
Shane liking it.
I like it a lot.
Huh?
I'm just thinking about Vinny here. I'm just thinking about, you know,
What
I
I
mean,
want to know though is
yeah, go ahead.
thank you.
Yeah.
How do you juggle?
See, this is what I deal with all day. I start talking, she
but I
gets
have
in
good
there.
questions.
Yeah, go
Okay,
for it.
Go ahead.
How do you juggle
Cats.
you being a comedian and then you also still being active in law enforcement?
So that's a great question. I get asked that a lot. So I would say I do 90% one-nighters where it's I'm hired corporate. I call it corporate.
Okay.
And then I do clubs 5-10% of the time.
Okay.
So I don't have that whole requirement. Like I'm here today with you guys.
Sure.
I'm back tonight. Tomorrow I'll do a show. I'll be back to work Monday.
Oh,
I'll work all this next week. I've taken the following week off because the 12th through the 19th, I'm going to be at Police Week. A song I co-wrote with a guy by the name of Craig Reams.
Look at
Craig
you.
Reams is being featured at Police Week. And so he's going out there to sing it. So I want to be there for that. And I also want to be there to just meet and greet with people. And it's a time to recognize the people that have fallen. And the Police Week is hosted by the National Law Enforcement Memorial Fund, which in D.C. they have the wall where all the cops' names that die from the preceding year are added to the wall. So that's a really big deal. So I'd like to be there to support that. Then I fly to Kansas City, Missouri for a show. Then I go to San Antonio and then Columbus, Ohio for the Bridge show. And so a lot. So I'm able to, if I had to do like a weekend every single week where Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that would be really tough.
yeah.
But I'm just flying in usually one day on the weekend and flying right back out. And but I want to get to the point where I'm gonna just do this full time. I just
Oh,
have I'm
really?
trying. Yeah, I could do it right now, but I want to finish getting my retirement, and
Totally.
because I've worked so many years to
Yeah.
do this, I just want to make sure I've got that there, so I'm not worried about it. But things are really getting big. My second special will be coming out on Dry Bar here this month. I
Wow.
think it's going to get released. And then we got the documentary coming out at the end of the year. And then this year, I was very blessed. Last year, I got to tour with the Gary Sinise Foundation twice. We performed for 4 bases up by Fairbanks, Alaska, Space Force, the Fort Greely, and the Army, and then the Space. Did I ever say that? Space Force, and the Army and the Air Force up there. And then we did a show for Del Rio, Texas, the Border Patrol down there in November, and also Fort Bliss in Texas and in Huachuca. They reached out to my agent, and I found out that I'm going to get to go on tour with them in Poland this year. So I'm going to perform for the
Whoa.
troops up there. I'm excited, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm very nervous because, you know, I want to do a good job. It's for our troops, and I really want to shell out and have a good time.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
That's crazy. What a crazy schedule. And good for you for juggling both. Definitely stay in there for your retirement because you'd be silly. And I'm sure your wife would be like, you're staying in this until you're getting that because,
Yep.
I mean,
I just don't want to have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I want to be able to devote 100%.
Totally.
And
you've
now
already served so much time. It's
Yeah.
like, you know?
I know, but they thought it was a good idea. This is the weird thing. The sheriff where I work, he's like, this opportunity came open to be a public information officer. So I hung up the commander role in February, and now I'm the PIO, public information
Okay.
officer. And, you know, I'm a comedian, so I have a hard time not
Sure.
snapping people off sometimes.
Yeah.
So I know I'm going to be in a public press conference one of these days, and one of the reporters is going to say something that I take the wrong way, and I'm going to end up snapping them off like I do people
Yeah,
at
yeah.
shows, and they're going to be like, oh my God, we've totally derailed, and get Vinny off the mic. But it hasn't happened yet, but it might be happening. So I hope to see you guys all at a show one
I
day.
know, for sure.
Don't forget about us when you
know.
when you're an A-lister comedian, because you know we'll want some front row seats at that.
I won't. I'll be like, you got tacos? I'll be there.
Oh, we'll bring
yeah.
tacos.
Yeah.
Fucking.
We won't bring tacos. We'll bring broccoli. I feel like this is my.
You
like-
know,
like
you know what?
drill
Forget
sergeant.
forget about Shane, because here's the thing. We got like fucking eating disorders up in this
Yeah.
fucking building right here. So like
Legit.
you ain't the only one.
Yes.
I got it. Shane's fucking got it. Our boy Pete out there's got it. I mean Pete's the funniest,
me and
man.
Emily have definitely had
Oh.
it as well. I'm including you, Emily, because
Emily
I know.
just like won't eat for like a whole day, and then
Wow.
Yeah.
you know,
I've never said that.
2 days, 2 fucking days. What? That's not good.
Man, that's a big deal though right now. Like fasting, like
Yeah,
people
We
are
did the
fasting.
3-day
because
water
it.
fast.
I'm trying to remember what it starts. The effect where your body starts repairing itself.
Right.
Yes. Supposedly that's what happens.
What's it called?
Don't know.
There's a word for it.
It's something
did
here.
You're such a dick.
Your body.
I have a dick.
Yeah.
Your body was designed to do this, and I can't remember. I can't believe the words
I
escaping me right now.
can't either.
We did the, and I know because we just did in December. We did the Gary. I'm not even gonna say
Gary
his last
Fucknuts.
Yeah, that guy.
it does.
His 3-day water fast. We did it.
Does it do something with your mitochondria or your regeneration?
Yeah, it helps your cells regenerate a lot quicker than.
It goes
Right.
in and it
Man,
actually
it's gonna drive me crazy.
I know, me too.
it destroys the zombie cells, the cells that
The radicals.
the radicals. Yeah,
Yep.
They call them the zombie cells because they're like, they have no business being in your
Yeah.
body. They have no idea what they're doing except for causing havoc inside of your body. Although it was rough, man. 72 hours is a long time, and my body started freaking out at about 65 hours. Like my blood pressure all of a sudden started spiking.
Wow.
They were doing a better job at like taking their salt and
Yeah.
stuff than I was.
Because you were allowed to have like salt in your water.
Yeah, I get those. The what is it called? The MLRT, or I can't remember.
I say we do it again.
QRT.
No.
Okay.
All right.
It's just the flavor salt, but you need it has magnesium and the salt. What I muy chingón. He goes. That's gonna drive me crazy. I gotta know what that is. Can
I
somebody
know.
look that up? What
I
is it
know.
called?
What is it, Emily?
Emily, look it up.
What is it? No, it's
Oh,
it's the process your body goes into
yeah.
after you.
Metamorphosis, or it goes into
No.
your body goes.
Ketones.
No, it's not.
Ketosis.
Ketosis is something where your body gets rid of the sugars and stuff, and now you're in a state of ketosis. But there's another thing that's
I know.
called for fasting. When your body has been fasting for a certain long time, it's where the DNA in the body starts to repair the cells.
Yeah. I
I just
know
can't remember what
exactly
it's
what
called.
you're talking about. I
Me
just
too.
don't know what it's called either.
Yeah.
It's what?
That's not the word that.
That
I'm
doesn't
That's not the
sound
word
like
I'm
it.
thinking of.
Nope.
Well,
Anyway,
Anyway,
on that note.
anywho,
did you have a question? I feel.
I know.
You know what? I don't know if this. I'm just gonna say this, but I feel really accountable to you
Good.
for my food.
Good.
I really do.
Take it home with you. Take it home with you. You got my number. You call me any fucking time.
Okay.
Anytime your mom comes
Oh, I'm
home.
gonna get your number.
Anytime you give me your mom's number too.
Oh shit!
All right. I'm
Dude,
gonna
you don't
fucking
wanna
call your
mess with
mom. I'm
Mexican
gonna say,
Wolverine.
listen,
yeah, no way.
You don't want to mess with
after 8
Wolverine.
o'clock, do not call your son.
She'll be like, ¿Qué está diciendo? She'll be like, I wrote a whole bit about my mom getting way too involved in a situation on the
Oh
street with me.
God, yeah. It's
Yeah, and I have
Really?
and I have a story about an ice cream cone, which I think you would enjoy too, because as a cop, you can't enjoy an ice cream cone. You can't go walk into the parlor and be like, "Hey, give me a triple decker," and stand there crushing it, letting people like look at you, being like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, Mom, what's going on with that large cop?" But you can go to the drive-through and you can sneak an ice cream cone. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I'm going to Dairy Queen. You
I
know,
love-
like
Oh, I loved it.
you're actually an addict to food as well.
Yeah.
so-
Dude,
I
the
mean, but-
peanut buster parfait.
Blizzard.
Really,
Mine's
that's your
the
jam?
No, mine's the banana split blizzard with peanuts.
Oh, peanuts, salty with the
Yeah.
sweet.
I'm not a fan of peanuts in my ice cream, but like they had they for one.
You don't like these?
I don't like these
He's
nuts.
nuts.
I posted something funny on my Instagram and it was political, but I'm gonna say it anyways because it was really funny. Donald Trump, they had this little thing that they made a cartoon out of it. Donald Trump called Joe Biden, and he's like, Joe, I would like to apologize to you and get you a pizza, and Joe Biden's like, really? You want to apologize and you want to have a pizza? And he says, yeah, pizza these nuts. It was stupid, but
Piece of these nuts.
pizza these nuts. That's what he said to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Leave the comedy to Shane. Leave the
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah.
There you go.
I bombed.
You bombed, bro. You
That's
bombed.
good.
Do you ever do
That's good.
Chad bombed.
what happens when you when you
yeah.
tell a joke that you think is funny on stage and you don't get the reaction that you're hoping for?
I'll say something like, it depends. It depends on who I'm in front of. But people let you know real quick when you're not funny. They'll just, it's silence, right? 'Cause they're just like,
silent.
And I'll be like, yeah, you guys were right with me. And then you're like, you're on your own, fucker. So it's just, however it is. And then you move right into your next bit, right? But not being afraid of silence is also a big deal. If you look at the story I tell about dark humor, about the guy shooting himself, you can't rush that bit. You have to just let it sit. You have to let it sit. When you set it up, you do the first punchline, you got to just let it sit. Let it sit. Because people are processing what you just said. And they're taking it in. And if you rush it, you'll set yourself up. It's no different than anything else. Comedy is just learning to work the timing and how you say something, the cadence, the way you do it. We all remember certain slogans or certain things. It's because there's the right cadence. It resonates with you. And so being not afraid of having a room just looking at you at certain points in time and just staring at you, being like, what's going on? It's okay, because you're still in control. And that moment will make it even better for them, because we're building up a crescendo in the arc of that story. And if you give it a little too early, or I can't believe I just had a sexual reference run through my head. I am not.
See what happens when you walk into the studio? You never know.
Yeah, I know. You guys got it in my head today. I don't know what's going on, but you might be a little premature if you if you have the reveal too quickly, instead of just letting it sit there a little bit and get to the right point, and then you hit the punchline, and people are just, the anticipation, that build up is just much better.
How do you feel about premature? You're good with it, right? Like, I mean, you don't.
Oh, I don't care.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't care.
Right?
I'm selfish.
I was expecting a lot more of snarky blue kind of stuff coming from you, and it's been very professional.
I try to tone myself down.
Very supportive.
These people have toned me down over the months here.
We only on the podcast do we tone him down.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, we fucking tell
free,
him.
I'm free.
We tell him to. Well, I mean, there's a few other places, but outside of the podcast room, we give him, because sometimes, like, he says some shit, and I'm like, dude, you can't fucking say that shit. I know you're from Canada, but I can only use that excuse so many times. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh.
But we need him.
Yeah, I just feel like
He's one of the most integral parts of the whole dynamic.
I'm a third. I'm a third intricate. I'm 33% intricate.
33%. You know, if we don't have that piece, we're fucked.
You're wobbly.
Yeah.
We're wobbly. Like
wobbly.
Natalie and I, we can hold it down.
Yeah.
Shane and I can hold it down.
Yeah.
The two of them held it down one time.
We did.
But every group of friends needs that one that just kind of throws the
curveball
every now and then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's our most loved and our most hated. It's facts.
But isn't that anything about great friendship? It's like you have those people that you love them in your life, right? You love them. And the guys that I'm close to that are in my inner circle, like, I love them, right? But every now and then I want to just choke the living shit out of them because, they just,
Yep.
But you don't stay mad long at those people. You just, you say what you
He's
gotta
also
say.
a disappearer. Like, he's fucking Houdini. Like,
literally.
Like,
Now
one
you see him,
second
now you
he's
don't.
sitting there, and then what the fuck?
Where's Shane?
Where's Shane?
An hour's passed.
Where do
we don't know.
Where do you go?
I just leave. I leave. I go home.
He set us up. He set us up yesterday, and I'm not gonna go too detail into it, but like, we were inviting a bunch of people up into our little executive area out front for a mastermind meeting, and people start showing up, and he just fucking disappeared. Like, didn't even introduce people to us. He just fucking brought them up and left.
Had no idea where he went.
Just made it as awkward as possible for us.
That's Shane. Welcome to Shane.
And that is.
What are you gonna change leaving here? What are you gonna change, bro? What are you gonna change?
Man, I'm going to church here right now.
You better go to church. What are you gonna change leaving here? Let's grow. I
feel like I need to get a workout in before I even get on the plane this afternoon.
We got a gym downstairs.
Jumping jacks.
We got a gym. We'll do some burpees after.
Yeah. After I take you for fucking lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am pretty damn hungry right now.
I'm starving too, bro. I am starving. Ricardo's, here we come.
I had to get up early at 5 to to make that flight at 8. So
Wait, do you have a show tonight?
no,
Tomorrow?
tomorrow night.
Where?
Yep. Just outside of Denver, Colorado. It's Comedy for a Cause. It's to support a couple employees that work for the agency that I work for. And the ticket sales have gone really, really well. So it's going to be a live crowd
Good
tomorrow.
for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Vinny, how do we get involved? With Gary Sinise, with the foundation, you doing stuff for the military.
I've done shows through the Gary Sinise Foundation, who organizes that with the military. I've just been very blessed to be able to do that. This is my 3rd tour I'll be doing.
Wow, good
first,
for you,
First
brother.
international tour. But everything else is just VinnieMontez.com. I'm on all the social medias.
Yeah.
And I just, I love getting to do what I get to do. So.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Making people laugh is really, man, there's nothing better. The number one question I get when I get off stage is like, hey, man, are you really a cop? Because I think people just don't
Totally.
equate cop to funny person,
Yeah.
because cop situations are usually not
Super
funny.
serious, yeah.
Right. I mean, nobody says like, oh my gosh, I really appreciate getting a ticket this morning, So
I don't understand one thing. I think being a cop is awesome. I think it's a great job, and it's a very well needed thing in America. So I just want to applaud you for and thank you for your service, and thank you for chasing me when I needed to be chased.
bro, you ain't gonna see me chasing you. when you're a brand new cop, you're excited, right?
Yeah.
You come out of the academy, you're like, let's do this.
Yeah.
You got some kid with a minor possession or something, like, let's go. They're running.
Yeah.
Right? But when you've been on the street as long as I have my career, if you see me running after somebody, hit that son of a bitch with your car. That's a homicide suspect right there.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
true.
Nice.
You're going to have to do something great. Like, you take my taco, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
And I'll be like,
Yeah.
I'll be on your heels.
Where was my point? Where was I going?
Don't know.
I don't
Don't
know.
Come on.
Don't know.
None of y'all can help me
No,
out.
I think you were just saying,
We were talking about law enforcement,
yeah.
Yeah, I remember,
me being
I
there, thanking. I really
remember
appreciate
all-
you saying that.
I remember all those wonderful things I was saying.
No, I think it is a big deal in the sense of like, thank you for your service, thank you for what you do, because it is a position that I remember as a kid. When you ask, especially younger kids, it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like, oh, it's cop, firefighter, paramedic, a singer, an act, like something like that, And I think it's a position that is not looked and applauded enough because it's so important. We would be a dysfunctional society if we did not have law enforcement, if we did not have the first responders, if we didn't, there's a reason for everybody in service that does their jobs, and they should be celebrated and commended. And, clearly you are one of those people. So thank you
Well,
so
I
much.
appreciate that. I mean, I want to extend that right to the next generation. So I appreciate you all saying that. That's great. And I really acknowledge that. And I thank you for saying that. And it feels good to hear you say that. But I want to extend that, take it, and transfer it to the people that are coming in to do the job right now, because we are at the biggest shortage right now that I've ever seen in the country. I think LAPD, they were just on NBC News like a week and a half ago. They're down like 3,000 or 4,000 cops.
Military too, bro. It's
Yeah,
happening
military everywhere,
Defense of the
so-
country is going to shit. That's this new fucking generation because we're allowing mental health to creep into everyone's life today
Yeah,
and giving them choices that they don't deserve to fucking have.
I agree.
Yes, I agree too. I've never taken a political stance, but I absolutely agree. We gotta be a little tougher. We
Yeah.
we have to be tougher. We can't be, I mean,
Man, I didn't know we were gonna go down this road. Let's go.
yeah,
Let's get on board.
I mean, we can go down as deep as you want. But like we have to be tougher.
Yeah.
Tough times create tough people.
Yes.
Yep.
Like, we
Tough
can't-
people create good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where
And
you're
the
going.
and that's the thing is that we actually created this shit because us tough people created good times,
Yes.
which made it easy for other people. So like, hello, we need to we can't keep letting I don't think the pendulum can go any higher, man. It's
No.
It's in a fucking weird ass spot right now for
Where stuck in Joe Biden's ass?
Oh, man, I
And
just snorted.
Thank you so
I just
much
snorted.
for coming.
Thank you for having me.
we're not a political podcast.
Yeah.
No, we're not. We, you know.
God.
But we do stand with
Winners.
with winners and people that are going to help deal with the mental health and especially the fentanyl crisis, which I mean everything in addiction is fueled by underlying psychological issues that drive that need to abuse a substance. Like most of these people are. You don't fucking take drugs in excess and do them on a daily basis unless you're hurting inside. Like, these are people's children's. These are people's brothers. They're in pain. And they need help and love. And so do all the people that, that Shane slammed his head on. They're in pain.
Yeah.
These people are
They
in
are.
pain.
They are.
We can't keep making excuses for them, though.
No.
Yeah.
They have to make a decision, because the best thing that ever happened to me was the fact that I got arrested and I got put in one of the best detox centers in the United States. They have them all over the place.
Yep.
They're called county jail, and you cannot
But
leave.
that's becoming a thing of the past, you know?
Yeah, it's sad to me. We
Well,
had the Orange County Sheriff on here, Don Barnes.
Yeah, the
Dan
laws
Barnes.
have changed so much now where,
They're writing him a
they're
not
like
even
in
doing that.
Colorado.
Might as well not
In
even
Colorado,
do
it's the
it.
same thing. You if it's a low level drug offense, under 4 grams, which 4 grams, that's a lot of shit.
yeah.
You're gonna get a ticket, and then they don't go to court for that.
Yep.
And really, what it was, for lack of better words, is when people would get arrested that were having substance abuse problems, it was an intervention in a way for them. It was a
an
chance for them.
intervention.
It was a chance for them to get sober long enough to maybe have a
good
different
decision.
Make a decision, yes. And I think that's really hard because those people. But here's the other flip side of that, because I work for a sheriff's office and we have a jail. The people that are in our jail, they're serious, either really serious criminals or they got really, really bad. And the population is really a lot of mental health, psychological problems.
Yeah.
So, it's hard. You only have so many bed space. You only have so many places. Yeah. And our jail actually has, it's called the RISE program, and they actually have people that get assigned to this part of the jail, and they're no longer inmates. They're actually clients that are living there trying to get through their issues, whatever that is. So, yeah, we're pretty revolutionary around the country with our jail with that. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of defunding the police, we need to be refunding them and funding them and opening up places that that can be a almost like that next step before they get into like a residential treatment center, like this here in this facility. Because the thing is like I went to detox over and over and over again, and I kept leaving because I could. Because I
It was an open door facility.
Yeah. And in California, that's all there is.
Really?
There's no such thing. You know how hard it is to get somebody even 5150'd in California?
Yeah.
You literally have to tell the freaking mental health worker that I'm gonna fucking kill myself right now, and I have means.
You have the means right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yep.
Otherwise, they're like, see ya.
I feel like we're getting closer to that. We're not there yet. But now there's the whole use of force thing that's coming up, where before, when I was on the street as a regular deputy, before I moved up the chain, if you said you had a mental health issue and you were contemplating suicide and you said, yep, I'm going to do this, I'm going to kill myself, we would do what we had to, use all the reasonable amount of force to take you in. Now there's no legislation or there's no support for that. The Graham versus Connor is the case law that supports. There's a 3-pronged test for whether or not force is reasonable, necessary, and appropriate to use in any given circumstance. And when it comes to a civil application for mental health, there's not the support in the courts right now that says we're really justified to do that. So you see people, we're now backing away. Like we have calls where people are really not really struggling. They're having a suicidal episode, but they're not a danger to anybody else. And instead of engaging them and forcing that to become a worse scenario where we end up shooting them, or worse, they procure a weapon, we're tending to back away and leave them there. But I don't know that that's the right thing, because that's completely counterintuitive to the way we've done things forever. And I'm not saying, just because we did it this way forever doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. But again, I think it's either all or nothing, and I don't know that I necessarily agree with all or nothing. In my life, I've learned that when I'm extreme about stuff, it doesn't always work. There's a fine balance, like I talked about at the beginning. You have to find the middle ground for it, and what may be absolute for somebody works perfectly, but for somebody else, you got to kind of tailor it to that individual to figure out what's the best method. You know, whenever they work with athletes that are super athletes like you, and they don't just have one program. It's a very specified program for the way the body type is, the way that person processes the food. There's not one giant catch-all for every person that's having mental health out there. It's a very unique application. That's why at the agency I work for, we make sure that all of our people are crisis intervention trained, CIT trained, because dealing with people in mental health crisis is very important. And you could push an incident where somebody's having a psychological episode to become a deadly force or a serious use of force instance, versus, like I told you a minute ago, I can't believe there's the parallels I'm drawing here, but in comedy, you don't want to force it until you absolutely have to, if you have to. And in a lot of times, the approach that we're trying to teach officers now is just taking that time to have a tactical pause, listen, try to figure out where that person's at, and then meet them at that point. Because if we can get cooperation, it may take a little bit longer to get it, but here's the drawback to it. We don't have the staffing like we used to. Agencies are struggling for that. So now that attention you could give people with sufficient staffing, those other calls are holding while you're still here trying to negotiate with this person. So everything has an indirect effect to it, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's like
Get it.
well said. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, and you know, letting whoever our listeners know that that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's important.
Because that's important. You know, we support the blue. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
because if
so much because
they
dude,
need money to do all the proper training and to get staffed and to be the best that they possibly can be, so that way that it's not what it is now. It's like, you know, sad to see that our military, our law enforcement, all of these honorable positions that are of service are lack thereof.
Yeah.
It's
you know, sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but
no worries.
the one thing I wanted to say, you know, because I'm trying to think of what you were asking me. You know, when we had the whole defund the police movement, you know, I understand why people were frustrated. You know, to say I don't understand where they're coming from would not be truthful. I haven't lived their journey, just like I haven't walked your walk or walked your walk. I just know what mine looks like. But I try to put myself in that perspective for a minute. And what people don't understand is when you say let's defund the police, we ended up losing a lot of senior people who were like, man, we understand what happened with George Floyd, and nobody approved that. Mm-hmm. But that's not all of us. Mm-hmm. And I ended up going online and making a video that I couldn't believe the response I got, talking about here's how I see us and myself and my career. But what I want people to understand is that in order to get good at anything, whether you become a WWE superstar or you become a great podcast or you become a great stand-up comedian or a police officer, it takes time in grade, time in doing it to get really good. What do they say? It takes 10,000 hours to master something.
Yep.
When we don't allow and support our officers to have the ability to make mistakes, because it's similar to having issues. Like I make a mistake, I eat the wrong thing. I still have a chance to fix and get better and be better in my own life. It's the same way that I would just ask people to look at the law enforcement officer, to get good at the job you're doing and to become a truly impactful person in your community as a police officer, sheriff's deputy. It takes a lot of experience and trial and tribulation, figuring out what worked, what didn't, just what we talked about when you're dealing with people that are having mental health crisis. It's the same application. In order to deliver the service that you want, to meet people where they're at, in order to have a law enforcement officer be the pinnacle of where they should be in that community, we have to allow them the grace to learn how to screw up. And this is the only profession, in my humble opinion, that I think out of the gate at day one, you have to be perfect. At least that's the perception on this side of the fence, is that if I screw up anything, I'm going to be judged. Cameras, everything that I do. And not that it shouldn't be, but man, there's got to be some grace. If you had a heart attack today and you went in and they said, you need heart surgery, Do you want the young officer the young doctor just coming out of medical school who's just been given the blessing to do their first heart surgery alone? Or do you want the vet
No.
who's got time and grade, who's had people's hearts stop on the table? That's who I want.
Yeah.
I just want people to understand that it's a very difficult task that we're asking our young people to do. And here's the even harder part. And I'm just speaking for Vinnie Montez, not my agency. We couple all the things we talked about today. The younger generation coming in, they grew up doing the text messaging and stuff like that. Their ability, in my opinion today, is a lot harder for them to initiate those conversations. And how can I speak intelligently about that? For the last 6 years, 5.5, 6 years, I was responsible for our training program. And one of the things that I saw through our young people coming in is that ability to engage, make that decision about what they need to do next, assimilating the information that they are given in the field, being able to synthesize that, pick a direction, and say, okay, I had this experience, but this is kind of similar. It's not exact, but I can extrapolate what I learned here and apply it here. That's hard because everything is at our fingertips today. And the critical thinking that needs to go on, and then you couple that with our mental fatigue, our mental health fatigue, Shane, what you were talking about earlier. Man, that's a lot to deal with today. So I just ask people for grace for the future of our law enforcement agencies and the EMS field. I just ask for grace because we're not perfect. We certainly try really hard. But in order for us to get really, really good at anything, it takes time to get that experience. And when we screw up, just understand we're human beings just like everybody else. And the guy sitting here right now is not perfect. And I've led a 26-year career in law enforcement, but I am only a sum of all those experiences, whether good or bad. And I needed those mistakes in order to create that scar for me to realize what wasn't good and what was not working in order to get down the right middle of the line to be successful and be accomplishing the things that I needed to do.
Nice.
Well said.
Right?
Yeah. Very good.
If you can't support that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Totally.
got you got mental health issues.
We still gonna go get we still getting some Mexican food after
We're
this?
gonna order Ricardo's, bro. Maybe we'll get a poke bowl instead for a change.
Oh, pokey.
Pokey?
Pokey.
Pokey.
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much
man.
for coming on. I felt like it was a beautiful conversation in the sense of just the trajectory of starting in law enforcement and then having it go into, you know, you now doing comedy and then transitioning now to be doing comedy full time eventually as soon as you get that retirement.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
Very much on this side as well. Thank you so much for having me.